Hello you guys, how are you? So today we're gonna be talking about my experience working in the beauty industry, and I for one want to make it as short as possible and want to give you the big details. I loved working in the beauty industry. One of the things that I love the most, it's the fact that I am able to understand and help others on how to utilize from a foundation, perfume, a new moisturizer in your skincare routine. So to me, it's really important, you know, and it's really nice and nourishing and makes me really happy and help others and make them feel home. So for about a year and 6 months, I worked with this company. And while I was working with this company, I experienced some of a really bad and nasty behavior from my manager. And then every time, like I would say even every month, they would hire somebody new just because they couldn't handle the environment and the hostility, or they just didn't want to be, you know, this side or that side. I just felt like every single month we would have to hire somebody, at least on the counter that I was working with. Not to be said, the rest of the counters had to hire somebody because they just couldn't handle the emotion and the instability that everybody experienced, you know. So I just want to be clear, because a lot of you guys ask me how is environment working in the beauty industry, and I constantly see it in previous videos from other jobs that I've held before. And so this is my personal point of view. I'm going to show you detail on why am I saying bye to the store and why I'm not shopping in the store, why am I don't want to be related to the store, I don't want to be related to these people. And it just affected my life in such a way that you guys have seen that I have not shared any videos for at least 1 or 2 months by now. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands and you guys understand and see what's my point of view and where I stand. Because a lot of you guys maybe have been customers or friends, or, you know, I've seen people who probably hate my videos at this point and they are still subscribed to the channel, which makes no sense to me, but okay, thank you for the views. How you doing? I just feel like overall I want to expose this kind of behavior and this kind of workplace that I worked in the past, because it's not the first time that I see it. I see envious people and jealous people and people who can't really live happily with their own lives. So to me, it's really important to be honest and clear, and just, you know, like sometimes, a lot of the times, you know, as a customer, you don't really know what's going on behind cameras, behind the counter, behind the chair. And so it is really, I don't know how can I say this. It's just really shocking to know that there's so much behind it. I wanted to make this video also because I saw a video a while ago back from Sean, I think it's not Shawn Mendes, it's Dawson. I'm gonna link it in here. I just want to make sure that I can tell you guys how I feel and show you the different type of perspective and the different type of people that you can encounter, and my personal point of view on what I experienced overall. So I was the only gay male who was Latino in more on the eastern side of United States. And for a while, I had never experienced, you know, racism or sexism in many ways. Now, a lot of the times we set our mindset that, you know, women and men tend to be the strength, and they tend to have the fault, while women tend to be more fragile, and women are more vulnerable to certain experiences, which I completely understand. And most of the time I support you know, feminism, I support woman power, You know, I was raised by only my mom. I've talked about it many times. I grew up with four of my sisters, and they've always encouraged me to be respectful. They always encouraged me to shut my mouth when I had to, and open it up wisely when I had to. So to me, it was really important to talk about this matter, because there's a lot of gay male working in the beauty industry who suffer and are targeted because of racism or gay, you know, sexism, or many other problems or many other issues that people have. So to me, while I was working with this company, from the very 2 to 4 months, my manager had changed, and the new manager had kind of like a different type of perspective of how she wanted to handle the work environment. And while everybody wanted to follow it up, most of them quit. Most of them left the job. So when I started noticing these changes, I saw a hostile environment created towards my persona, and I felt like I was just gonna let it go. Probably it was me. And you know, sometimes you just don't want to see things that actually happen. You just kind of want to go blind, like Tima Braxton says, rather go blind. But the point of the matter is that this type of behavior happened on a daily basis, and to me, it was just getting to a point where I was like, you know, this is too much. I just can't handle it anymore. Without lying, I'm gonna say it and state that my counter only experienced almost one person leaving the counter almost on a month basis. Not only counting that, my manager had a nasty behavior. There was an older lady who was working with us who I appreciate. You know, she was always working hard. She was always hustling. She really loved working, and she really loved overall giving a good experience to customers. But she had a way of talking her down too, and she couldn't figure out, or she didn't see it the way that everybody would see it, just because she was not in here. Like if she would, my new manager was mean to us, or she was, you know, in a way rude, the way she talked to us, she couldn't even, you know, notice it, because she wasn't from here. She was from another country, and she was like, no, it's okay, maybe she's having a bad day. She was always giving excuses as to why she acted the way she acted. Now, about the 6 month or 6-7 month that I was working in this company, in this beauty counter, there was a new person coming in. So she was Latina. We're gonna call her C. And so C came over, and she noticed the same behavior from my manager. She noticed that many times she told me that, you know, like she would even she gave me a ride home twice. And I felt like for a reason that kind of connected us to a different perspective and to a different level. And I felt like, and so I felt like that kind of connected us, and I kind of like gave us more like a friendship deal. So she would tell me, you know, like I remember on her first birthday, while she was working there, she even was told to come in and do a makeup on somebody without clocking in by my manager. And I was like, whoa. And days later, when you have some days off, so when I came back from my days off, she told me, you know, I had this experience with the manager, and she even had like a nasty attitude, and she told me not to wear lashes one time on my birthday. And I was like, you know, I'm just coming in and doing this job for free. And I said to her, you know, if you're coming in for free, I would have declined it. You know, if my manager asked me to come in, I have to clock in. It's part of the law what you have to do. But anyway, she didn't want it to make it a big deal, because she was a little bit scared of how she was behaving towards her persona, as well as she was behaving the way that she was to me. For some reason, my new manager had been working with the company for 2 years, and she was really close friends with with the floor manager, and they would have been hanging out outside of the store, because I had already heard many stories, you know, by her own mouth and by others people's, you know, experiences, that they had heard that they were hanging out outside of work, which I completely didn't care if they were friends or they were something else. that I thought that did not have to affect the way that I was working with this company, because I was meant to work in the company. Now let me tell you really quick. I was many times told, you know, you're number one in sales, or you're the only one who's making extra points, or the only one who's opening credit cards, or the only one who, you know, overpass, you know, 5, 6, 7 credit cards, or you're the only one, I don't know, who's, you know, who made a really, their goal yesterday, you made a $5,000 goal, or I don't know, just put it that way, and I was the number one. So obviously that created kind of like a competition, kind of like a, oh my gosh, I have to do that first. And so the Latina woman, the one that we're gonna call C, she kind of felt that pressure, and for some reason I felt for her. It really made me feel vulnerable in a way, because she had to create a connection now with the manager, because she knew that the manager for some reason didn't like me. Now, that's kind of strong to say, but I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying it. So when our first gift with purchase was coming in, she did not advise me to do anything. She did not advise me, you know, gift with purchase is gonna start a certain day. Now, when gift with purchase started, now for all of you guys that don't know what gift with purchase is a huge event where you know, your customer sales or your beauty advisors or your representatives work really hard in order to target a certain amount of money to make sure that, you know, are getting income, the store is getting income. So when gift for purchase came in, I was not allowed to do overtime. I was not allowed to you know, work extra over shifts while everybody else was by my manager. I would go ahead and ask her directly, hey, am I allowed to come in for you know, overtime, or, you know, a couple hours to make sure I can call my my customers to make sure that I can meet the goal. And she would tell me, no, you're not allowed. Nobody's allowed. And so when I realized that, you know, on my days off or the days after, I would even notice that everybody would tell me, why were you not here yesterday? Because all of your team, or all of the team in that counter was here, but you were missing. So I would have to just, you know, like ask her directly, is there something going on? Did I offend you at some point? Did I make something, you know, that could have caused this kind of a hostility between you and me? Because I noticed that you changed, you're not the same person as to where you were before, but you're very friendly with the rest of the team. So it kind of makes me wonder if you just have something, you know? And that, I tried that not only once, twice, I tried it like at least 10 times, talking to my manager directly to her and taking the matter on my own hands and telling her, you know, this is how I feel that you're, you know, kind of like taking me away, kind of telling me, you know, step away, kind of like, I don't care about you, I care about the new team, you know, because like I said, every single month there will be a new team member on our beauty counter. So to me it was really stressing, because a lot of the times I would feel that I was not advised and well informed with everything. So I was a little bit stepped back, that kind of stepped me back a little bit. And it was just frustrating and uncomfortable, because I couldn't directly go to the floor manager and complain to him, because he was friends with her. And if I would tell him something, he will be like, I'm pretty sure you're seeing things differently. I'm gonna talk to her. He would be like, if I would complain to him about something, he would be like, that did not happen to like the way that you're saying it. I talked to your manager and things didn't go the way that you said. I'm sorry that you're confused, kind of like. And that happened many times over a year, almost a year and a half. So I felt like there was such a hostility going on that I could just not handle it. There was so much hostility and so much hate towards my persona that I felt like they were targeting me. At some point during October, I suggested to my boyfriend to have a part-time job at this, at the same beauty community, And I told them, you know, it's a part-time job, it's a seasonal job, you're gonna like it, you can just, you know, move your schedule, they probably gonna work with you, just don't tell them that you're my boyfriend because I don't want them to have something against you or just decline you. So I was surprised when, as soon as he gets, he starts applying it, and my floor manager at that moment knew what was going on with me and my manager, that he just declines my boyfriend's job. And he says, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to hire you. So for some reason, out of the nowhere, he receives a phone call by another, kind of like assistant manager that was not well aware of what was going on because she had recently been hired. So she calls my boyfriend and she kind of has that interview over the phone, and she tells him, you're hired, come into work certain day, and he comes in. So things went different ways and different routes. So my boyfriend realized of the behavior that my manager and other people's had towards me, and he realizes that they are ganging up on me. They are kind of having like, by one of their mouths says, it's kind of like a mean girl's behavior. Like if you've ever seen that Mean Girl, they wish they were like that for sure. You know, that monetarily well established, but they were not. They were just like me, working for money. So I couldn't understand why they couldn't just work for their monies and mind their own business. But I guess not everybody is the same way. So my boyfriend encounters that also many issues with them. They kind of like want to trigger him in a way that he gets fired. And so at some point I just asked him, you know, if you feel uncomfortable, if they do something to you, just step away, because they literally make his job hard. I remember one time they were, you know, my boyfriend's job duty was organize all the gift or purchase in order to give, you know, to send them to every single customer. So they went away and they started grabbing all these bags of the customers, you know, material or products that they had already purchased. So they ripped off their receipts, they ripped off the, you know, they don't mind if they open the bag, so they spill the product. So my boyfriend is kind of like, oh my gosh, you're making everything harder, so now I don't know what's going on. So when he goes and complains to our floor manager, he says, let them do their thing, it's fine, your job is to find them now. And so I was like, really? Many things like that happened. Now I'm gonna tell you about something really quick. They were having such a fun time making me feel uncomfortable. I don't know if it was because I was the #1 in sales, or I was liked by most of the customers, because most of the customers really, when they came back asking for me even on my days off. And I was like, whoa, that's really nice, because I really appreciate somebody who can appreciate my job, you know, because I feel like I'm doing something right. I feel like I'm working hard, you know, not to be recognized, but to make sure that the customer remembers me and make sure that they ask for my service again. So a couple of things happened. My manager created an Instagram, and this Instagram was mainly focused on the products that we sold at the counter. And at some point, one of my manager's bosses, she came in and, you know, we had a training, and at some point, you know, I suggested that we should do an Instagram for the beauty counter, so people know over online on Instagram on what to do, on what we do. And so she said that that was a smart idea, and she asked us who volunteers to do this. So I said, I volunteer. I would love to do that, just because I really wanted to experience and develop myself into a better person professionally. And on the other side, I also saw that my manager had already, you know, she had already asked C to be the main account holder on the Instagram for our own beauty section. And they never allowed me to go in. They never told me what was the password, even though I asked them, you know, to make sure I could share, you know, what I wanted to share, to make sure that I could, you know, I don't know, be part of the team. And when I started doing the beauty section, Instagram of all of the beauty brands that we had, people were raving about it. People were like, oh my gosh, it's such a nice Instagram, it's so professional, it's well done, you know, it has so many likes. Within 1 week we received over 200 followers. We were liked with many people by influencers from that same state. And I was like, oh my gosh, I must be doing something different. So I started listening this kind of like, we call it habladas. I started listening to this kind of like jaggers out of my managers and see new friendships. They were like, oh my gosh, you guys, we have about 3,000 followers per se. And even though no one liked it, no one liked any post, they would be like, oh my gosh, we have 3,000 followers and no one can compare to us in front of me, which was unnecessary because they already had known who was the person in charge of doing this Instagram. So it became to a point where I actually shared a video from somebody else that had shared the video from somebody else, and that somebody else was seeing. So I shared the video from someone. I shared the video from this person, and this person had shared it from C, which was my coworker. So while I reposted it, C found out, and they had already blocked me in my personal Instagram, so I never knew what was going on. And they had already blocked me from, you know, the Macy's Castleton Instagram. So while I was doing that, they unblocked me, and this C, I'm gonna show you the pictures so you can make your own point of view. C sent me a message saying through the beauty brand you know, through the beauty brand Instagram. She said, I do not agree with this post. I need you to take it down just because it's you, basically, or I'm gonna file a lawsuit under you. Now you're not talking to me as a person, you're talking to me as a main account holder on the Macy's Castleton Impulse and, you know, beauty. So not only that, she had the nerve to send me a comment under that same video and said, as herself, and she said something like, I need you to take it down because this infringes and violates my personal rights on Instagram. So she kept reporting the video or the share that I had done, even though I had already answered her as Macy's Castleton, and said, I did not repost it from you, I reposted it from somebody else. I'm sorry, you know, I apologize, but I'm just sharing this for everybody, not just for myself. And she kept sending these messages. So I sent her the screenshots of this kind of like childhood behavior and to my manager, and I said, you need to make sure you can stop this because this keeps getting elevated. You know, like she's threatened Macy's to file a lawsuit to Macy's because Macy's is sharing a Macy's event. So it didn't make any sense to me. So by the next day I wake up and I received a text message by her personally saying, I am so sorry, I threatened you with a lawsuit. I know I can't do it because, you know, I can't threaten Macy's even though I work for Macy's. So I'm sorry, that's fine. And that was it. So the next thing that happened between me and my manager, and this was all because my manager kept, you know, pushing and giving energy towards these people. Like she felt the need to tell them, you know, keep doing it. She never had the nerve to say, stop it. I'm not gonna allow this in the counter, in the store, anywhere. I never heard her saying that. But she did tell me that if I was doing something wrong in front of them, that it was my fault. While they were laughing like children. And it just made no sense to me. Why was I treated like an older brother, but they were treated like, you're doing fine, honey. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, that was kind of the behavior. So I kind of felt overworked, and I felt, you know, how can I say this? I felt tired. I felt tired of working there. I felt tired and sad because of the behavior. Like, I had not experienced that, excuse me, I had not experienced that since kindergarten maybe, or, you know, elementary school. It just was pointless. And when one of our co-workers left her job for real, she left in the company, and she left a huge book of clients, and we were all supposed to get it. Well, guess who got it? See, she got it. And when I asked my manager, are we gonna get any of those clients to make sure that we can help each other, you know, because I know there's like a bunch, like at least 1,000 customers. She said, no, they're all for C, because we're gonna help her. And I was like, whoa, you know, at least before she became manager, it was, you know, if you leave your job, we pull out that book of clients and we share it with everybody so that everybody can take care of them. Well, no, that wasn't the point. Later on, now that was only one little thing. Let me tell you what kind of a day-to-day basis I had experienced. So they would buy cookies, or they would buy brownies, or they would buy, I don't know, drinks. And they wouldn't tell me, like, we're gonna do a potluck day. So I couldn't come in. Like, I was not able to, you know, you have common sense. So I would not be able to grab any water or any drinks or any food or any this or any that, because I was not told to get it because of my manager in the counter. And so I felt left out in many different ways. You know, even with goals, sometimes I would be off 3 days, and by the next day that I would come in, everybody else would receive a text message saying, we're all gonna wear a pink shirt because it's a, you know, day against cancer. I would not receive something like that. I was left out. So everybody was wearing the same color, but I was left out. Things like my manager would bring chips, or she would bring brownies, and she would pass them around near me, and she would ask the next person, be like, do you want brownies? She wouldn't ask me. She would ask the next person, do you want some brownies? And they would laugh because I was left out and treated that way. And it was just, I don't know how can I express this, but it was, to my persona and my brain, I was like, this is pointless. Like, why are you behaving this way? You know, like, why do you want to make me feel bad for some brownies? Your action is just like out of proportion. And they continuously talked about God. You know, like they would be like, no, don't do things unto others if you don't want them to be done to you, and stuff like that. And they would laugh looking at me. They would laugh, and they would make fun of me, talking down to me. I'm gonna close down this video with some facts. Last year, by October or November, I had my boyfriend coming in with some food on a Saturday, I believe, or Sunday, I think. And so C had a really good friend in one of the beauty counters, even before she started working there. I think she actually applied because of her. So obviously that person was friends with her, and she, every time she would have, she would make me feel, she would want to try make me feel uncomfortable. So she would come in and be like, you know, giving those kind of children faces, like, you know how you enter a place where you're not, when you know that you're not welcome. That's how she would try to make me feel. And she would, you know, she would purse her lips and try to be like, I wanna be Meryl Streep from Devil's Wears Prada, which she's completely not. But just the fact that she would do it, it would just make me feel uncomfortable. I'd be like, I am almost 29 and she's 23, 24, I don't know, God knows. And she would try to make me feel uncomfortable, and I'd be like, you know, I am working this job because first, I really like the customer service that I can provide. Second, I need the money, and when I was doing good money. And third, I had no intention whatsoever to treat other people just because of their background, or just because they felt uncomfortable, or just because they felt unhappy. So this woman, so let me tell you about a scenario. So my boyfriend comes in and gives me food. Then I go back and, you know, I give them some, I think a container from my morning's breakfast. And so C comes with her husband, and this friend come in. Her name, let's just put it, Nika. So Nika comes in. So she comes into the scenario, and they put themselves in the middle of the place where I'm trying to get my container out. So I asked, you know, politely, I was well educated to ask for permission. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I apologize, thank you, I appreciate it. You know, I was educated that way. So I had to come inside, and I didn't want to walk like this, like, oh, like there's one person here, there's a wall here, there's one person here, there's a wall here. So my boyfriend stands in my back, and he knows that there's friction there. He knows that they are, you know, basically laughing at me. And I hear them one time, actually. I hear Nika and C, even though they are Latinas, and they you know, they feel powerful and they feel strong to say that they are Latinas because they came in, even though, you know, they talked about so many things. They felt like immigration was wrong, even though, you know, their parents came in that way because they didn't have the documents. So I was just not into it. I was like, I'm out of all these conversations. Like I never expressed my opinion on any topics that they were talking about. First, because I was never welcome to the conversation, so I was never able to converse with them. And second, because I always trying to stand away from that kind of, like, you know, those topics. I feel like they're careful and tactful and sensitive, as religion, as politics. Like you just don't want to engage that. If you're smart enough, you don't want to do it. So long story short, I had to get my container. So I said, excuse me, well, I'm trying to get in. And so this woman, Nika, she's facing Z with her husband, which she's coming back as well from her lunch. And so she tells me, excuse me, what, bitch? So my boyfriend, out of nowhere, asked her, what did you just say? And so Nika turns over and she's like, I did not say anything, while she was laughing at me. And so I hurry up and I go and grab my container. I hold my container with me and I tell my boyfriend, let's just go. Don't even go there. And so my boyfriend starts asking Nika, you know, what did you just say? Tell me. Be upfront and tell me, what did you just say? And so Nika starts fighting in Spanish and starts yelling at him and calls him, you know, you're a fat boy, you know, you're a maricon, whatever. You can't even touch me here because I'm at work. And if you touch me, I'm gonna make sure you go to jail. And so she starts telling us, you know, like, you can't even say anything because I'm gonna make sure you go to jail and you get fired, Felipe. All this in Spanish. So long story short, I see my floor managers coming in and I tell them right away, I'm sorry, there's something going on in here. This woman literally just called me a bitch. And so Nika jumps in front of me, goes to Nick, grabs him by the arm and says, Nick, he just called me a bitch. And I was like, what? You just called me a bitch in front of a lot of people and customers. And she starts yelling like, how dare you? You know, like, his name was Nick. So she says, how dare you, Nick? You know, you can't have him in here working in here while he calls me a bitch. And it was like, this is mind-blowing. And so my manager, instead of asking me, Felipe, what happened? No. He goes against me. He says, why did you call her a bitch? Why were you doing this? I was like, oh my goodness. If I had a voice recorder, I would have done it. So I tell him, you know what, I'm sorry if you're gonna be on her side instead of asking me what happened, then there's nothing I can talk to you about. So I go and walk with my boyfriend. Out of nowhere, I see, almost in the exit, I see Nika coming in, and she starts like, what are you gonna do, bitch? You know, you can't do anything, you're still in my store, you know, I'm gonna say that, you know, all these things. And I was like, I told my boyfriend, Romeo, just close your mouth, don't say anything, you know, like, and he's like, no, I'm gonna make sure she knows, you know, like, she can't be disrespecting you in here. And we wait until she leaves. I don't know where she lives. And I tell my boyfriend for, you know, like a couple of minutes, like maybe 3 or 4. I say, you know, we're just gonna go and chill. You just go and chill, relax, and I'm gonna make sure that I can report this as well as I have reported everything else with HR and Macy's. So I go upstairs, he leaves, and I see one of my coworkers, which she asked me what's going on, and I start crying, and I tell another manager, you know, I think it's raining here. No, it's not raining. I see this manager and he tells me what's going on. Are you okay? I've always seen you happy. It's really sad to see you here. And so I explained to him everything. And he says, go to the 3rd room, report it to Macy's, report your manager, and then make sure that something gets done. So I go to the 3rd floor. The doors are open. She is sitting on a chair, talking with her mom in Spanish, without knowing that I was heading that way. And she tells her mom, in Spanish, Mom, I'm gonna make sure that he gets fired. I'm gonna make sure that my manager knows that he called me a bitch. I'm gonna make sure that all this stuff happens today because we're tired of seeing him today in the job. Basically like a mean girl, like, why are you even tired of me working? Like, it makes no sense that just because you hate somebody because he's a human being, you just gonna do that. And I guess nowadays that can happen, and even though that's not okay, that was okay. So I hear all this stuff happening. Before I walk out of that room, I hear the mom says, well, make sure that you're not getting in trouble. It sounds like you're getting in trouble, but if you get in trouble, make sure you call the cops on him so they can take him to jail. And I was like, whoa. So I started writing my incident report. I go to the 2nd floor, obviously, because I couldn't stand and wait in there. I go to the 2nd floor and start, Dear HR and Macy's, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. How you doing? You know, all this stuff. So within a couple hours later, I actually I go to the restroom, and when I come back, see it's there waiting with the cop. And I hear her saying, that's the guy. He insulted my friend. And I was like, whoa, like, those are really big words. Like, you know that I never insulted your friend. I said, excuse me. And your friend was the one who told me, you know, excuse me what, bitch? Anyways, here comes the police officer, and the officer says, I have a report by, you know, Nika, and Veronica tells me that you hit her in the workplace, that you call her names, that you push her to a counter, and she's feeling hurt. It says here that she's still in the facility, and I just want to make sure what happened because, you know, what happened. So I said, I'm sorry, officer. With all the respect that I have for you, that never happened. Let me tell you my side of the story. By the way, I had already screenshot, which you're probably seeing throughout this video. I had already screenshot the incident that I had sent to HR or Human Resources, and I tell them everything. So I let the officers see the abbreviation or the briefly portion of what had happened, and I tell him, I am sorry, that never happened. And he's like, well, this is your side of the story now. How can I prove that this never happened, and I don't have to take you, you know, to give a declaration? And so I tell them, let's just go right in front of us and ask another counter, other people, to tell you what happened. So 3 of the members tell the officer, no, officer, that never happened. Felipe and Duhamel never pushed anybody. They never slapped anybody. What happened was that actually Veronica, we just heard her saying bitch because she was pretty loud. And, you know, like she was, you know, she jumped in front of Duhamel, kind of like asking him to fight and fight over. And she was very aggressive. You know, we don't even know what was going on because a lot of the times they were speaking Spanish and we don't speak Spanish. So Felipe just walked away, stepped away out of the counter, and he never said anything. Their manager was there. She didn't do anything. You know, they left to the south gate of the store, and they left he left the facility, and then Felipe was here, and they Veronica and C and the manager, Janaya, they left to the 3rd floor to make the report. But that was it. Felipe and Duhamel never did anything. All the aggression was coming from them. So after everything of this happens, and that say I had the courage and the strength to come back to work, even though I felt miserable because of somebody else's behavior, I still felt I needed to come back to work because I had not done anything. Even though I was by them, I was trying to be looked at somebody who was guilty or somebody who had done something wrong when I actually hadn't done anything. And so I felt miserable and I felt uncomfortable. I felt pretty sad. And I even talked to the store manager, and I actually have the email too, which you're probably gonna see in one of those videos. So I felt powerless. I felt like my manager was not gonna do anything. He sat down one time and he said, well, I want to know what's going on because there's the manager, and there was C, and there was VNA, and there was Veronica, who were telling me, you know, you did all these things and it's your word against them. And I said, well, you had the power to look at the cameras and see everything that had happened, and I hadn't said anything more, but just say, excuse me, because I had to come in. So my manager tells me, well, why did you have to tell them, excuse me? You had to give them the container right now? Why did you have to, you know, walk in front of them? Basically telling me that by doing my own personal things on my own time while I was not clocked in at work, I was in the wrong position. So he keeps telling me that, you know, like, you know, it was your fault to come in and ask them for permission to come in because, you know, you were not at work. And I was like, just because I'm coming in for a glass of water, or just because I'm coming for my spoon or my bag or my wallet or my phone, doesn't mean that I have to get into this kind of problem and issues every single time. Like, you're telling me that I'm the one with the guilt, but I'm actually not. And just because you're friends with them, just because you hang out with them outside of work, doesn't mean that I am the one who is gonna, you know, pay for all the broken dishes. Anyways, so this happened. So I received a couple of HR phone calls, and I asked them to be changed out of the counter, even out, you know, to another department, anywhere else. So they say, we can't switch around, we can't do this, we can't do that. And we talked to your manager, and he says that everything is okay now, and we apologize for the inconvenience. That's it. And so I even reported many times. I had to let my babies in because it's raining. Give me 1 second. I even reported many times that my manager didn't allow me to take my 50-minute break, my 30-minute break, that she would tell me, well, I can stand here for a longer time, so I'm pretty sure you can because it's pretty busy right now, and I can't afford to take you out to lunch. So I reported that to my manager, and I even sent them messages. I never did anything. HR never did anything. There is a page or text message saying, if you were never allowed to take your breaks while working at Macy's, send us a text message and we'll fix it for you, even though you are not longer working with us. And I'm like, well, I reported that problem with Macy's when I was working there, that I couldn't take my lunch, my break, or you know? Even though I was hungry, even though I was thirsty, I couldn't do it because my manager didn't allow me to, and I reported that many times. Many of those single issues happened while I was working in this beauty department, and just thinking of that, I feel like I have a headache, and I'm happy I no longer work with them. I am happy I don't see those faces that were hostile, they were angry, they were upset at me for no reason. They were happy if I felt miserable. They felt happy and powerful because I was powerless. You know, one time I saw Veronica mocking my accent with a customer. I saw them. She was making fun of me with VNA, with C, and I felt uncomfortable because just like their parents, I have an accent. And I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna change. I'm gonna change to be a better person. But as long as I make myself understood, I shouldn't have an issue with talking the way I talk. And so most of the times I felt like I was left out without the reason to keep working with them. So I reported this also through Macy's, because after 1 month of living my Macy's store in this channel, I received a couple of hate messages on some of my YouTube videos when they were telling lies on my own personal media. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make this public. I'm gonna write it down in a short version to Twitter and share it right there. Macy said, we're gonna take this matter into our hands, even though you're no longer working with us. Give us a couple of minutes, or give us a couple of days. So I had somebody calling me from Macy's, tell me that she was gonna make sure that she was gonna get everything resolved, and if she had the option, she would offer me back my job. And I said, I don't have work with Macy's anymore, not because I don't want to, but because of those kind of people work there. They shouldn't be working in that place. Imagine what would they do if they were to do that to a 19-year-old, 21-year-old, 22-year-old. I remember one time VNA even called me, you're too old, you're not in the right place to work with the beauty industry, you're a male. And not even that, she also told me through a text message saying, you are a middle-aged man. You should be kind of, I don't know if shameful, she mentioned something along those lines, that you are a middle-aged man. It should be shameful to work with you and tell us that we're mean to you. And I was like, you are kind of mean. Like, how can I express this? How can I put it in words to tell you and express myself that I'm not feeling comfortable working with you because you're stealing my customers, because you're taking breaks and I'm not taking any breaks, because you are ringing up an item under you even though you didn't sell it. You are calling my customers. How can I tell you that I feel uncomfortable working with you guys? Because I'm feeling left out in every single event that it's been out. Like when you guys have to go out on an event outside of Macy's, I am living it left out in my whole counter by myself, which was pretty great sometimes because there were most of the sales where I had to ring them up for me, but I was left out and I was not welcome in those events. Why? I have no idea. They even took group pictures with people who were not working in the counter constantly on a day-to-day basis, and I was left out. And they even posted it on Clinic, and they were like, this is our fabulous group. It's the perfect group. So I was pretty much feeling like Camila Cabello in Fifth Harmony. And I was like, this is so messed up. I had never called and said anything bad. One time, they even, Janaya and my manager, Nicholas, they took me to a third floor room that I had never seen. They turned up the lights, it dimmed them, and they said, you are a subordinate and you have to follow every order. And if we can't take you to lunch, you're not gonna be able to, if you can't go out to lunch, you're not gonna be able to go to lunch. You have to obey and you have to respect everything. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I can't be a subordinate. I am an employee. I have to take my lunches. I have to take my breaks. You know, I agree. I'm a really great top seller, and but I have, you know, I have to be respected. I can't be called middle-aged man. I can't be made fun. People can't be mocking my accent just because they want to and they think it's funny. That's not the way that this business have to go, and go with the flow. And so they told me pretty much, you know, Janaya had an African American background, and she told me that I was being disrespectful because I was telling her that because I was not feeling like a subordinate, I was making her feel like I was putting her in a place where she would feel like she was entitled to treat me or mistreat me and behave a way she didn't have to. So she said, you don't know the story about my parents and my grandparents and, you know, all the black culture and all this and all that. And I said, and she pretty much along the lines tried to tell me, you know, you're kind of racist. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not. My boyfriend is Puerto Rican and he's half black, mixed with Indio, and also he is, you know, Latino. So how can I be racist? How can I possibly hate my own color? I've never been afraid of that. You know, how can I, you're putting words in my mouth and I'm not even that. Like, how can you tell me that I don't enjoy my work? How can you tell me that I don't obey and respect every single thing? How can you put your background history of, you know, slavery towards me on something that it's not even related? Like, I respect all of that, and as well as I respect my culture, as well as I respect the rest of the cultures, and I've never been that kind of person. And you kind of are. And I can tell you right now why. So I gave her the reasons. She would praise, and this is something really silly, she would praise on Beyonce mistreating Michelle, or I don't even know who, on Destiny's Child, on some topics that I would overhear while I was working with them. She would praise people like the Fifth Harmony, and that's why I mentioned it, mistreating Camila Cabello on the group. And I was like, I'm not that kind of person. You're actually that person. Like, that's not me. You're pretty much that person. Let me explore. You're somebody who's actually trying to be Regina George to other people. You're trying to be one face to other people, but to certain people, you target them for whatever reason you have. It's just not acceptable. So a lot of the times those kind of issues happen, and I know this video is getting longer than I expected, and I just want to say that's the reason why I stepped away. I am happy and grateful that I have Duamel as my number one backup support system. I have my dad, which is he's here. Ven para acá, baba. And my babies, my little doggies. You know, I'm happy because I have them. Because every single that I wanted to open up my mouth and say, you know, shut up, or don't say anything, don't talk to me like that, you know, I would just let them speak. They would be the main reason. Ven para acá. Ven. Yeah, ven a pasar. They will be the main motor of me or why I did every single thing. I needed the money. I really liked the job. If I could have that job, I would love to go back. Obviously with the race. But let me tell you something else talking about race before I leave. Guess what happened? Every time that I would ask my manager, Nicholas, he would tell me, I cannot give you a raise. I cannot change you to another apartment because of this reason or that reason or whatever reason. He wanted me to have that same treatment over and over again with my manager, even though he had seen it. And let me tell you something. Before I left, 2 or 3 months before I left, actually, let me just make sure. I had only just 2 or 3 supporters who were honest all the time and would tell me the things that they would talk to me behind my back, and I'm grateful for them. I'm not gonna mention them because some of them, they still work at Macy's. I'm also happy that I was able to walk out of that same nasty behavior environment. It was vilish. It was uncomfortable. 6 or 5 months before I left, another guy was hired. He was white. He was around 35 years old. He had never worked in the beauty industry. And I remember I helped him, with some things. He would tell me, I have a little experience working with makeup because I am engaging into becoming a drag queen, which I supported. And I support because I love RuPaul. But he would tell me, like, I don't have any experience on this job. I'm not good with sales. I was, at home because my boyfriend used to work here in Macy's, and then he became the manager, and then he got promoted to another company, and now he works with the beauty company, and now he's just like a representative of that company. He comes to work, but he doesn't longer works with this Macy's company. So I was like, whoa, that's amazing. So long story short, his boyfriend had connections, and one of the connections was the representative of the beauty brand that I was working with. And within like 2 to 3 months, or probably 4, he actually got promoted to be a manager at another company within our own same company. If that makes any sense. I used to work for a clinic. He worked for Bobbi Brown. A month later, he got promoted to be a manager at Estée Lauder. And all this happened less than 6 months. C asked, after everything that had been happening, she asked for a raise and she asked to be promoted. And guess what? She got promoted to Bobbi Brown. When this guy moved over to Estée Lauder, she got promoted to be at Bobbi Brown. Per se, it's an example. Don't take it too personal. It's just an example. So she got promoted, and I was like, wow. Like, they've been working here less than me. They did not only got promoted, they got raised. Like, I just want to walk away out of this business. And so those little things made me feel very uncomfortable because I got diplomas over how much I developed myself in trainings that were paid by the company, a clinic per se. And so I was like, whoa, like, my boss should be proud of me. My boss never said anything. But if somebody else like VNA, Z, she would sell, I don't know, $100, she would be praised. She would be, my manager and my floor manager would make sure that everybody knew about it. But if I did something great, that was never called for. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have experienced that kind of behavior. And I just want to be real honest, and I just want to make sure that you guys know what was going on. And while I was working there, while I was doing my videos, while I was trying to take away and walk away and experience something completely different outside of that nastiness going on, these people came over and started attacking my personal social media. They started following me on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Constantly they were attacking me, and they were saying things like fag, or you're such a liar, or it was so uncomfortable working with you, we didn't like you, and things like that. And I was like, that's out of place and out of context. Like, don't you have a life already? Like, I left a month ago. And I even remember one time before my last week, we were my counter was allowed to have an iPad. And for some reason, my manager, every time she would see me with the iPad, she would freak out. She would tell me, what are you doing on the iPad? If you want to do something, you can do it on the computer. So long story short, my manager had signed in her personal account of YouTube on the iPad. And I remember the last couple of weeks before, because I was hired and I was, accumulating so many days off and so many hours and whatever, I even took a couple of time off, like 3-4 days in 1 week, 3-4 days in another week, because I was allowed, because I had so much time and I was already tired, and there was so much weight on my shoulders that I don't know, like, I can't express to you how much I felt leaving that job. And so one time when I came back, before I actually left the job for Rails, I was working by myself from one of those long shifts from like 12 to 9 or 12 to 10, I don't know. I was holding in the I was curious about what the iPad was holding into, and it was right in front of me, and I never really felt curious about it. I was like, it's okay. I have like 3 iPads at home. So I realized, I had seen so many people working with the iPads, and I was like, I want to see what's going on. So I open the iPad, I unlock it, and I see Safari. And so while I was looking at Safari, when I open what Safari pops up, I see YouTube.com. And so I see the history, and I see, how you see videos on YouTube and then you get some recommendations related to previous videos? Well, I see my face and my boyfriend's face on my YouTube channel on those recommendations. And so I go onto the account and I looked into it, and I'm wondering whose account is while it starts loading. And I see my manager's names, which you are gonna probably see, which her name is Janaya. And Janaya had already logged in her account, and I'm like, this person doesn't like me. She's the one who started all the hate with all the crew of the people. So why is she following me? She was following me on my YouTube live. How can I express this? I was so concerned, so freaked out. It made me feel that I wanted to vomit, because I knew that she didn't have good intentions with me. And so I see her history, and she had seen most of my videos, and I was freaking out. I was like, what's going on with you? This is, ugh. I just want to leave you out with a thought and a good intention and a positive life, that even though sometimes you're triggered, you are treated by mean people, by angry people who are not comfortable with themselves, who are not feeling powerful as people who are feeling, sad or angry because they want to have something that you have. Try to walk away. It takes so much weight, so much time for you to deal with them. And I wish I had another job. I wish I applied to other jobs while I was I was being treated this way in Macy's. I applied to so many other jobs, and no one. Sometimes I would have, if you guys know me, I have spasms sometimes from my back because of the sciatica pain, and that's why I limp. Or sometimes I would have to go with my dad to a doctor's appointment. I don't like to drive by myself because I have those back spasm. At that city, there was just, transportation is not the best. So I just felt like every time that I would, had an interview, I was giving my best, but they were looking for maybe part-time or only seasonal, or they wanted somebody with experience, or I don't know. I had never the luck of finding another good job that would pay me more than what I was getting at that job at the moment. And so I felt trapped. I felt trapped and uncomfortable. But let me tell you, I am happy where I am right now. I am happy I'm telling you all this. I am happy I'm letting out all this that I've been carrying with myself because of these people. And I just want to share it with you. I'm not holding back. I feel like that video that Tati made about James Charles, like, buy Macy's. You know why? Because buy to those people. If Macy's would hire me back with a better payment, then great. But if I would encounter that same environment anywhere else, I would just walk away. I'll be like, bye, just not something I want to deal with. I have already a life. I have to take care of my babies, my doggies. You guys have seen them. I have to take care of my boyfriend. I have to take care of myself most important of all. I have to make sure that I am in a well-sanity state and health, because otherwise I'm not able to treat anybody else as equals. And nowadays, it is very important to do that. so many bad things are happening in this world. So many bad things are happening in this country that I just, for one, I want to treat everybody equal. I want to treat them with the respect that they deserve. And I just want to be really honest. And that was my experience. Trust me, I stopped this video because I cried. Trust me, I stopped this video because it makes no sense to go back to those scenes again. It makes no sense how much pain, how much unhappiness I was living with these people. People who, like I said before, I would walk in and they would have a nasty face. They would have an attitude for no reason. And it's just pointless. Hopefully you guys will subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I am bringing something new to this channel, which is experiencing something completely different. If you guys like it, make sure you subscribe. And overall, this video is not to bring negativity to your life. It's to bring encouragement, to tell you that if you're living with these experiences, report them, walk away, try to find something different like I did. I was not successful at that, but I'm pretty sure if you try, you're gonna find another different response. And I just wanna be real honest with myself. I like to be honest, and even though I was treated with mean attitudes, I want to say that I never treated them the same way. I was always polite, always kind, and I was always hopeful that everything would have changed, because that's the person I am. And even though nowadays I can call somebody for who they are outside of my work, I wish them well. I wish them that they would change and that they would not use religion, politics, or their background to anybody to treat somebody else in a different way. I wish you could speak up. For if you see somebody going through those same issues, speak up. That's the most important thing you could do. And be honest and happy with your own life, because if you're happy with your own personal life, you can handle all this and more. I'm pretty sure. I'll see you guys soon. Make sure you subscribe. Goodbye.
Then we'll just have to get rid of all four of you.
Really?
Yeah, that was his solution.
That's horrible.
That's what he said. And I was like, I just looked at him and I looked at them and I just walked out.
So he seriously just like heard you saying someone else here in a you know, in the cosmetic department hit me, and then Martha admitted it, and he didn't do anything?
Didn't do anything about it.
Did he say something to Martha?
Nope, nothing. He let Martha stand there and bitch and yell and scream at the top of her lungs, saying how much she hates me and she doesn't like Molly all the time and all this stuff. She said all kinds of nasty things.
What did he do?
He didn't do anything.
The manager didn't do anything?
Didn't do anything. Didn't do a damn thing. And then he lied to me and he said that everything was on tape. Nothing's on tape. They erase the tapes every 24 hours, so that pissed me off because he was pulling bullshit on me, saying, oh, you better be telling me the truth about Martha hitting you because it'll be on tape. And I said, fine, bring up the tape.
Wow.
Bring up the tape. And so during that meeting, Martha said, because I said, hey, bring up the tape and you'll see. And Martha goes, oh, there's no tape. There's no tape. And she goes, they erase it after 24 hours. And I looked at Nick and I was like, you lying piece of shit. You know, you lie, you deceive, you're a horrible person. So I'm done with it.
Yeah.